Well, hello and very warm greetings, dear brothers and sisters, all you who love the restoration of the real truth of the prophets and apostles, and a very warm welcome to the Keys of the Kingdom Holy Bible YouTube channel. And it's Monday night on the YouTube Movie Theatre. My name is Christopher Sparks, and I'm the translator of the Keys of the Kingdom Holy Bible, the organic restoration of the original scriptures. And this red and gold leather edition is available on my website, keysofthekingdombible.com, and I'll put, as usual, the link in the description box below. And the publisher is offering it at a big discount when purchased along with my other two books, the study companion to the Keys of the Kingdom Bible, my reasoning for the need for an organic, accurate translation that would translate back into the original Greek and Hebrew, and my booklet, Searching for Hell, and Hell You Will Not Find It. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. The King of the Ages, more translation truth. I love this title of God, King of the Ages, God immortal, invisible, King of the Ages. Well, this is the only channel that gives you full translation truth. So you might be thinking, King of the Ages, where have I heard that phrase? You might be vaguely familiar with it, maybe in a song somewhere. Or if you have the Keys of the Kingdom Bible, you will know straight that is from 1 Timothy 1:17. But if you only have the popular church versions, it might be quite unfamiliar to you. The underlying Greek reads Basilai ton aeonon, King of the Ages, or eons. Easy Greek, couldn't be easier. A beginning Greek scholar could translate that easily. That would be one of the easiest sections of 1 Timothy. Aeonon, plural noun from aeon, age, eon, and it doesn't mean anything else. And King of the Ages indicates the marked prophetic ages, indicated by prophetic announcements and the Lord God's dealings with his peoples through first the patriarchs, and then the prophets, and then the Lord Jesus, and then his apostles, all in harmony with the divine oracles. There is not any problem, is there? Oh, wait. New English Bible, King of all worlds. Worlds? What worlds? I thought there is only one world. The Old Testament speaks frequently of the earth and the world. Now, you might be unfamiliar with that, but it is a fact. And you can see it for a start in Psalm 24, verse 1. The earth and the world, both are mentioned. And in Keys of the Kingdom, I footnoted several places elsewhere that those two phrases occur together. And as I'm preparing for the next issue, I'm putting in even more of them. So world, it's always world. The Bible never speaks of worlds. God only created one world. So what is this King of all worlds? The French translation that I have, La Sainte Bible, the Holy Bible, Roi des siècles. Well, yeah, I'll give them half out of 50 out of 100 for that. The French do have eon, so a direct transliteration of the Greek. That would have been better, but siècle is better than roi des mondes, king of the worlds. J. Green's interlinear. Now, this is curious. This I think it was in the last video, or maybe last but one, I mentioned J.P. Green's Greek and Hebrew Interlinear. Everybody who is seriously interested in studying the scriptures and not just reading them should have this book. Now, Green has in his interlinear King of the Ages, correct, but Green has two margins. One, the right hand margin has the King Jimmy, and his left hand margin is Green's own translation, and in his margin he's got King Eternal. Why has he got it right in his interlinear but wrong in his margin? Odd. Disharmonious. However, I speak very highly of Green's interlinear. The Latin Vulgate, Regis Secularum. That's better. Yes, King of the Ages. My Spanish Bible, which is called Dios habla hoy, God speaks today, Rey Eterno. No. You don't need a Spanish tutor to tell you what eterno means. So they've got it wrong. The Recovery Version, King of the Ages, correct. The Concordant Version, King of the Eons, correct. Eons and ages means exactly the same thing. However, the NIV, the NKJV and the KJV have King Eternal. Eternal, that's an adjective. So king is a singular noun, so they have put a singular adjective to agree with a singular noun. But it's not a singular adjective. In the Greek, it's a plural noun, preceded by the plural article the, which in Greek is ton aionon. Now, you might think, so what? What's all the fuss? I can see the length of this video and he's making a whole fuss about that because it doesn't affect anything doctrinally, does it? Oh, but again, wait. Does it? Well, first, I don't like King Eternal. I just find it distasteful. English is a left-branching language, which means it puts its adjectives before the noun, generally. Whereas some languages are right-branching, and they put the adjective after the noun. But I do not like King Eternal. Well, principally because it's wrong, and also I love King of the Ages or King of the Eons. That's a wonderful phrase. But King Eternal just does not make any linguistic appeal to me anyway. Right, does it make any doctrinal difference? Well, no, but you've got to start looking elsewhere. This Greek word aeon, meaning age or eon, occurs 128 times in the Greek manuscript Textus Receptus. And its Hebrew equivalent, olam, occurs 438 times. That's a total of 566 occurrences of age or eon. And certainly God has marked out the ages through his patriarchs and prophets and apostles and his Messiah. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, God is referred to as the God of this age or eon. And no, that is not Satan, it is God himself, because it says he has blinded their eyes, and there are many passages which refer to this. Only God has this ability. So, God of this age, this is the Lord God. Galatians 1:4, the present age or eon of evil. So we see in the letters of Paul these eons marked out. Now, in the Keys of the Kingdom Bible, appendix number 8, I have made a chart in which I've made my very best attempt to lay out the different eons or ages marked out by prophetic statements. And in appendix number 6, which is all about this word aeon and its Hebrew equivalent olam, and the adjectival words derived from it, the adjectival derivatives. So, at this point, I'd just like to say that if the popular church versions have changed this so much, then you have to start thinking, what else have they changed? You have to begin to mistrust them. That's my point. My 2 points of the video are to get the correct translation at 1 Timothy 1:17 and to show you that these church versions are unreliable. And I'm now going to give some examples selected from my appendix number 6 in the Keys of the Kingdom Bible. First, I'm going to tell you the different ways that the King James has treated this word aeon that occurs 128 times in its New Testament. But how have they treated it? Well, they have it 8 different ways, but it only means age or eon, or ages or eons in the plural. That's all it means. A couple of times it's used idiomatically. So from of old, aeon. Now that's different, but those are only a couple of occurrences in Acts, I think they are. So aeon, it has treated out of 128 times, treated it 8 different ways. Ages, twice. So that's 2 out of 128. That sounds like my physics and science, chemistry scores back at school. My report says Christopher has a strong bias towards the arts which he should seek to correct. And, well, I haven't. Ages, twice. Course, once. Now, I'll let them off that. In the context, it's reasonable. End, once, no. Eternal, twice, no, because it's an adjective. Ever, no, because that's an adverb, 51 times. Evermore, no, that's an adverb, 3 times. Never, no, that's an adverb, 7 times. World or worlds, no, because that's plain wrong, 39 times. And now, if you've been adding those up, they do not add up to 128 because there are 22 missing. Well, what happened with those 22? Oh, they ignored it. Not once did they translate it correctly as eon, which is the best, but yeah, twice as ages. So when it occurs in the singular as age or eon, no, not once. So you see there is an agenda. They did not believe that God had acted differently with people in different ages. Well, what about the New Covenant in Exodus 19? How did he deal with people before the New Covenant? And then the ages of the prophets, and then when God divorced Israel, how did God deal with his people then? And then when the Messiah came, how did he deal with them? When the apostles were appointed, how did God deal with the people through the apostles? And how does he deal with us now? Yes, there are different eons, but clearly the church Bible translators did not believe them. So 39 times the King Jimmy has aeon as world or worlds. Now, world is a concrete space dimension. You can touch it and see it. It's the biggest thing, the biggest concrete thing we can touch. But aeon, age or eon, these are time dimension words which we cannot touch. They are abstract. So in some sense could not have got it more wrong. The biggest concrete thing we can touch, the longest space time we can think of abstractly, well, 39 times they put it as world or worlds. Now, just 3 of the renderings, aeon, are acceptable. So ages twice, Ephesians 2:7 and Colossians 1:26, and once idiomatically as course, Ephesians 2:2, and I'll accept that. So that's actually 3 out of 28. I thought, you know, the King James only fans call the translators the best of the best of the best. Well, if they were the best of the best of the best, what are the rest like? You know, it's like in supermarkets, you see a section marked health foods. Well, what's the rest of it then? If only one little section is health foods, what's the rest of it about? And if the King James translators were the best of the best of the best, what are the rest like? And they've got 3 out of 128. Matthew 13:38 to 39, Jesus tells of the parable of the tares. The field represents the world and the harvest represents the end of the age or the completion of the eon. So the 2 words world and eon are used in contradistinction to each other. World is cosmos and aeon is age or eon. We could not wish for a sharper distinction, but the 3 out of 128 best of the best of the best puts both words as world, spoiling Jesus' explanation. Both the field and the harvest cannot represent the world. Right, now remember I'm getting this from appendix number 6 in Keys of the Kingdom. And my friend Chico Firefly, if you're listening, said to me recently that it was appendix number 6 in Keys of the Kingdom that absolutely blew it all apart for her, that she could see that they were concealing God's marked prophetic times. 1 Corinthians 2:7. Paul speaks of the wisdom God has marked out beforehand in advance of the eons. The King Jimmy, though, only managed that as before the world. Well, that's different. Before the eons, no, it's not the same as before the world. It's not before the world. That is Calvinistic, because there was nothing before the world. But in advance or before the eons and before the ages, well, when did God first make his covenant? Exodus 19. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 18 to 19. 2 clauses. If anybody among you thinks himself to be wise in this age, and then its second clause, the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. Again, another sharp distinction. Age followed by world. But not so for the best of the best of the best. 3 out of 128 men. They did not drop their refusal to translate aeon as age. They stuck to their rendering of world, and both phrases they put as world. If Paul had meant world in both places, he would have written cosmos in both places. At 1 Corinthians 10 verse 11, Paul says of idolaters, on them have come the ends of the ages, signifying a certain imminent judgment. Well, what were the ends of the ages in the apostolic times? They were the ends of all the ages up to AD 70, when the temple was knocked down by the Romans. And that was the end of the Mosaic eon. No more temple sacrifice. And after that, Christ is sacrificed once for all, which is why the temple curtain was torn in two when Jesus breathed his last. So the end of the Mosaic eon. But the 3 out of 128 best of the best of the best were only able to manage that as upon whom the ends of the world are come. Well, it didn't, did it? The end of the world didn't come. And it's ages, plural, not world, singular. Oh, what was the matter with them? Ephesians 3 verse 9. The Greek has the phrase apo ton aeonon, which is from the eons. The best of the best of the best put that as from the beginning of the world. Again, Calvinistic. But that does not reflect the Greek, nor what Paul was saying, since the word aeonon is ages, plural, not world, singular. Unbelievable, isn't it? We all make mistakes, but sometimes you sniff an agenda. Ephesians 3:11, the purpose, just going back to that. The Greek says from the eons, Ephesians 3:9 this was, and the 3 out of 128 men put from the beginning of the world. So there's no the beginning. They added that, and they did not italicize it to admit they'd added it. It's not the beginning of the world. Right, Ephesians 3:11, the purpose of the eons. So, aeonon in the genitive plural, but the King Jimmy conjures eons plural into an adjective, eternal. The purpose eternal, the eternal purpose, wiping out Paul's point. Ephesians 3:21 is particularly interesting. Now, the Greek means the eon of the eons, or the age of the ages, but that's rather awkward into English, and so I suggest the duration of the eons. But what did the King Jimmy men do? They put world without end. Well, there is no Greek word world, no Greek word without, no Greek word end. They made it all up. World without end. They put the same at Isaiah 45:17, world without end. Both are wrong. Not only are they wrong in translation, but also wrong doctrinally, because they've also, harmoniously with even their own version, because in Matthew 13:39 and 13 other places, they've got the end of the world. So they've got world without end and the end of the world. And guess what? Both are wrong. Colossians 1:26, at last we come to a passage where the best of the best of the best got it right. The mystery having been hidden from the ages, and they put ages. Hooray! That's 1 out of their 128. Big red tick by the tutor, by their Greek tutor. All right, Hebrews 1 verse 2 and 11 verse 3 clearly state that God designed or framed the ages. So he framed all the past and present and coming ages, divisions of time marked by God's different ways of speaking to and dealing with his people. However, in those two verses, the 3 out of 128 men put, he made the worlds and the worlds were framed. Worlds. I refer you back to Psalm 24 verse 1, which has both the earth and the world. God made one world. He didn't make many worlds. And the Greek does not mean worlds, it means eons. God deliberately marked out and framed and designed the ages, the ways in which he would deal with different men and women at different times. We are now under a new and better covenant. Isaiah was not under that. We are in a different eon, not different worlds. Right, turning the page. Ephesians 2:2 and Hebrews 9:26 most happily provide both aeon and cosmos, eon or age and world. Ephesians 2:2 has both words, the eon or age of this world. Now, I will admit that that is not a particularly good phrase in English to make sense of the eon of this world. So the King Jimmy men made a distinction, and even they would not write the world of this world, and so they wrote the course of this world. So course meaning a time span. So yeah, another tick from their Greek tutor. I like that, the course of this world. I'll give them that one. Very good. 2 out of 128. Hebrews 9:26 has the two phrases, the foundation of the world singular, and the completion of the ages. The two phrases, the foundation of the world, the completion of the ages. Hence it's absurd to want both world and ages as world, yet that is exactly what the 3 out of 128 best of the best of the best did. They put the foundation of the world and the end of the world. But it wasn't the end of the world, was it? 2,000 years later, it still hasn't ended, and it's not going to end. It's going to be changed. Hebrews 11 verse 3 and Hebrews 11 verse 7, we again see the distinctions. The ages have been framed by God, and Noah condemned the world. But the King Jimmy, the worlds were framed instead of the ages were framed. So they put both as world. Hebrews 13 verse 8, Jesus Christ yesterday and today is the same and throughout the ages. For that last phrase though, all the King Jimmy could manage was the same forever, but it's throughout the ages. So to represent a plural noun with an adverb ever is a curious mischief indeed, and throughout the ages is far more attractive than forever, which is a cliche. Right, all these are subjects of straightforward grammar, internal harmony and logic. There is nothing complicated in any of those. And so you see there was an agenda. Now, I read to you the different ways that the best of the best of the best treated the 128 Occurrences of aeon. Well, here's how the Keys of the Kingdom treats it. Again, this is all from appendix number 6. This is the last page of appendix number 6. Now, in the Greek text I've used, the Robinson-Pierpont, aeon occurs 126 times, not 128. So 100 times I've got it as age or ages or eon and eons. 100 times. 4 times as of old, because it's used idiomatically, and I haven't slavishly put age or eon every time, and that is a fault in the concordant literal version. Now the concordant does have eon and eonian, which is a huge credit to it, but it doesn't distinguish when it's used idiomatically. And so it's at Luke 1:70, John 9:32, Acts 3:21, and Acts 15:18. Twice I've got it as duration and 20 times as durations. Never as forever or any kind of adverb other than of old, which is adverbial, but again, because it's idiomatic. So, well, doesn't this just show you that you can never trust your King James Bible? And if you cannot trust it in those places, because, for example, it's got world without end and end of the world, which is hideously disharmonious and inconsistent, then you have to ask, what else must I mistrust it in? And in what else has there been such a plain agenda?